All right, what is going on, Ravens flock? And I am joined here today by Voss from Baltimore Beatdown. Voss, how are we doing tonight? And how are you celebrating your victory Monday?
I'm going to celebrate by watching some more Monday Night Football here coming up, but definitely a good opening salvo to the Ravens season. Go on the road, beat a team in the conference. I think we're all expecting a pretty comfortable win. They started off a little sluggish. Some things that positive signs, maybe one or two negative signs, but overall, it was a great day of action on the opening Sunday between fantasy and some gambling and Ravens win. I had a really good day.
Definitely, same here. Personally, after that Ravens game, I celebrated my victory with a date, and that went well. So pretty good Sunday for me as well.
Outstanding.
And yeah, and you know, nothing feels better than waking up on a Monday and not having to read or see anything on your feed, on your any type of news source about the Ravens losing. It's always good to wake up and to see that little W next to the box score. So without
How
further
long did you
ado,
say it's been? How long did you say it's been since?
since November of 2021 when we played the Bears, so
Yeah, that's crazy.
about 10, 11 months. So yeah, that's I don't even want to talk. That season's disgusting. So yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. Voss, what are your thoughts on the pass offense and maybe some of the wide receivers and what you thought went well and didn't?
Sure. So I think the pass offense really carried the offense. It was great to see Lamar connect on some deep shots. That first quarter there, it was tight. I mean, and Lamar had a long layoff, but they weren't really pushing the ball downfield. I think the big breakout player of the game was Devin Duvernay. If he can keep that up, we've been talking about it all off season. They need a wide receiver too. We never said it couldn't be Duvernay. It could have been. I personally thought it was a little risky to put all their eggs in that basket, but he had an outstanding game. I thought his first touchdown grab, that contested catch, was one of the best grabs we've seen a wide receiver make in Ravens uniform in the last couple of years. Really was. And then even the second touchdown with the communication, I thought that was a nice play design by Roman to give Lamar kind of a high-low. Andrews is Andrews. He's consistent. Bateman with that 55 yards split the safeties touchdown. He only had two catches, but if one of them is going to be a 55-yard bomb, then you'll take that. And the other receivers, Isaiah Likely didn't catch a ball, 4 targets. He was clearly the tight end too. He played well ahead of Prochet as that slot guy. Prochet only had a preseason, not even preseason, training camp darling, James Prochet, all the hype, barely saw the field, barely touched the ball, didn't touch the ball. And then Demarcus Robinson, I think we should touch on at least. I was not impressed by his game. I believe he had 2 catches on 4 targets. I thought he probably could have tried a little bit harder for at least one of the contested catches that fell incomplete. People get really excited at preseason, cautioning people who've seen who he is in the league. Not saying he can't be a contributor, but I don't think he solves all their problems based off a preseason showing against backups.
Yeah, definitely. I liked what Duvernay showed. I think that gives me a little more confidence about there being a second threat in the receiving core. I will say that from my expectations, I was a little disappointed with Bateman because he had that drop on the slant, and then it looked like, and he probably wasn't going to catch it, but it looked like on that deep post route that you're talking about, not the one he caught, but there's another one where Lamar kind of pointed at him to go to the right. It kind of looked like he slowed up at the end. He probably wasn't going to catch it, but I'm a big proponent and believer in finishing your routes all the way out and finishing your reps. So,
good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I of course you take that 50-yard bomb, and you definitely love that, but you also see the room for improvement with him, and early on in the game, you start to really get scared. Like, all right, is no one going to step up? And then as the game went on, Duvernay stepped up, and then Bateman makes that catch. So, all in all, like you said, the pass offense definitely carried this game. Without the pass offense, they aren't winning. It's without Lamar hitting those deep shots and making the other team pay, they aren't winning. So, we kind of been saying all offseason that the pass offense is the most important phase of the game, and just ironic that the week 1 of the 2022 season they win by the pass offense. But yeah, I like what I think that Mark Andrews was good. Obviously, he had a little bit of tough competition with Sauce Gardner playing him for most of the game, and clearly Sauce is pretty good. I would say he, being a rookie and going up against the number 1 tight end who just had 1,300 yards, he put up pretty good battle. Like you said, Demarcus Robinson, I thought there was a few times where he could have a little more effort into the game. And then obviously the last thing about the pass offense is, besides likely kind of not continuing from what he had in preseason, which I guess maybe a week off, he just kind of be like, all right, well, maybe he just needs a little more time, whatever. But the interception from Lamar, the ball that was slightly underthrown, and I think DJ Reed made that pick. And that was to Demarcus Robinson on the sideline. So you would like to see that ball placed a little more overhead and into the breadbasket, as they say, of Demarcus Robinson. But obviously, I think there's a little bit of pressure in Lamar's face, and just didn't allow the play to complete. Do you have any opinion on that pick, boss?
Right, that's the one I was referring to. I mean, I think Robinson could have at least maybe went up and turned into a defensive back on that play and knocked it away instead of the interception. I think they're a work in progress. Some guys are getting really, really hyped up, and I wouldn't be surprised if more teams employ the strategy of putting, if they do have a long corner, to shadow Andrews going forward, and that's kind of been the concern that we've had. But anyway, just to have Duvernay step up, I mean, that's huge. And I know a lot of Ravens flockers are concerned about the rush offense. I'm not one of them, because I really don't think – I think pass offense is way more valuable and important than rush offense. We saw what the Ravens did last year. First place in the conference, 8-3 before the first Cincinnati game, and their rush offense wasn't great, and their pass offense was. So pass offense covers up a lot of warts. It really does. So, cautiously optimistic. We need that tertiary threat. If Duvernay can supply that throughout the season, and Bateman continues to improve, I don't think he's, a bona fide star yet. He definitely has, as you said, room to improve. But they have a couple, at least with Duvernay, it's one cause for optimism.
Definitely. Yep. Definitely optimistic on where this pass offense can go, as long as everybody steps up, keeps developing, and they're put in the right places to make plays. I think that by the end of the season, a top 15 pass offense isn't too egregious to say, especially if they're leaning on Lamar to make plays like he did yesterday. I think that we'll get into the contract another time. Never mind.
Well, I just want to make one note on that. And we've been debating the value of pass offense all off season with everybody. And one of my former colleagues, Yitzi Weiss, used to work with us at Beatdown. I made a claim that, pass offense is the most important common denominator for winning championships. And he went back and looked through the last 5 years, and he discovered that only one of the teams that made a Super Bowl in the last 5 years were not top 8 in passing yardage, not just efficiency, but actually yardage. So I think they need it. I don't think there's any question about it. And San Fran was the one that did it 3 years ago. They didn't win. So it's good to see that Lamar wants to do that and Roman wants to do that. And hopefully the players, the receivers, will be able to deliver.
Definitely agree there. I think that when it comes to pass offense, for me, a lot of people strike the 2019 season where they were the number 1 in efficiency. But the way I view that is, of course, you shoot a basketball 10 times, you're going to be pretty good if you make a little more shots than everybody else. But as you shoot more, that's where your efficiency goes down. And I do believe that number in 2019 was a little overinflated because of how teams were just so unaware of what Lamar brought to the table. But
they were never in must-pass situations through that entire
right.
run. They never had a double-digit deficit. And they weren't necessarily in a must-pass situation yesterday either. So, we'll see how it plays out. I think it's a little bit different when there's an element of surprise to take a deep shot to a Duvernay or Bateman versus you're against Buffalo or KC in the fourth quarter, trailing by 14. They know a pass is coming. They're going to play a little different. But anyway, I think the natural segue there is, really the engine of the 2019 season was the rush offense, and it didn't look too hot yesterday.
Nope, not at all. I went through some of the film and I looked at a few breakdowns from Cole, and it just seemed like all things were out of sorts with the run game. Players on the offensive line, the tight ends really weren't executing. Ricard was missing blocks. Oliver was missing blocks. Ben Powers is not good at football, and it just seems like a lot of things were not going well yesterday for the run game. So I don't blame the running backs. I think the running backs just didn't have anywhere to run. So that's kind of my stance on it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I thought Kenyon Drake actually, he had a couple, sidestep quickness, little jump cuts in the hole to avoid, 2-3 defenders in his face, which were really impressive to me. I'm pretty optimistic that Drake can be a significant contributor to this team throughout the season, even when Dobbins and even if it's Gus that comes back. I think he's clearly ahead of the other two. He played almost 60% of snaps, that got the lion's share of touches. So as far as the blocking, Linderbaum is a work in progress. I think we saw some of the limitations of his size show up not only in run blocking, but he got bulled pretty good on one third down play, I believe it was, where the D tackle got right up in Lamar's face and forced a punt. So, you take a center and he's supposed to be a generational player, but he's undersized. Hopefully he can figure out, the leverage aspects. But I agree with you on Powers. I really want to see Ben Cleveland usurp Powers for that job. I think Powers is decent. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's horrible. I think he would probably start on 15 teams in the NFL, but he's not a guy that's irreplaceable. And then, left tackle, you lose Juwan James for what's probably a career-ending injury, I would imagine, after his injury history of the last 3 years, and the Achilles comes off the bone. That's pretty bad. So you stick McCary in there, and McCary probably can hold up a little bit better on the blind side and pass protection just due to his technique and scrappiness, but he's not, moving. And the Jets have a good front too. We should say that, but they're not the only team with a good front. So, we need Ronnie back. They need Ronnie back. It's good that he's actually on the field. He put the street clothes down. He put the jersey on since the last time we talked, and so that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Hey, nothing like the Ravens flock could do many things, but making up nicknames, and Garnett makes the greatest nickname. Street Clothes Stanley, Purple Patrol. You need a nickname.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But hey, let's speaking of the rushing attack, let's go to the concepts the Ravens use this game. So they ran gap concepts 14 times, and they ran zone concepts 2 times. So my initial thoughts on this are, I believe this number needs to swing the other way. Not totally, but I think it needs to be more middle, 50-50. I think that the Ravens have the zone center. They have Zeitler, who can run multiple. They have Moses, who was in a pretty much a zone system last year with New York. Comes here, he can run multiple too. Powers probably more of a gap blocker, but then now you have Macari in there, who's more of a zone blocker. So you got 4 guys in the offensive line, 2 of them strictly zone, 2 can run multiple, and then you put Cleveland there. Maybe he's obviously better in pass protection, but I just think that they need to swing this number the other way, at least into the 50% range, because as a coordinator, you got to play to your strength and play to your personnel. And I will die on the hill that the Ravens need to run a little more zone and get the train tracks moving. What do you think, Boss?
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'd like to hear you explain, how you think that would specifically benefit these blockers, tactically.
So, we saw in the 2 that they did run zone here. It was a stretch to the right, and Kenyon Drake, like if Morgan Moses makes his block, Kenyon Drake is going like 25 yards to the house. So I think that as long like they can get the combination blocks going, they can get that. The thing with zone is like now you allow Linderbaum to get to the second level and pull a lot more often and run the tracks and kind of just clean guys up, and that's where you can start seeing like more innovations of the zone read. Well, not the zone read, but the veer. And then they did yesterday. I think they did the jet sweep bash, which was Duvernay came across, and then Lamar pulled it and ran the option. So um, that I think this like we have a whole bunch of guys that can run it, and obviously my thought is okay. Well, they ran gap 14 times yesterday, and they really couldn't run the ball at all. And it seemed like when they did run zone, it looked like there was a little bit of daylight if the execution was better. So that's kind of my thought process on it, Voss. I think that if what you're doing is not working, you can change it up, and that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a reasonable explanation idea. Um, at some point, you just if you don't have the horses, you don't have the horses. And I'm concerned about Linderbaum, and we'll see. It's first game, but it's kind of a mismatch of personnel. No matter who the left guard is going to be, is going to be more of a power player. And maybe that works on combo box and duo and stuff like that. But we'll see. The key really is getting Ronnie back. I mean, we've all said it for 2 years now. So if not, maybe they have to explore the trade market for offensive line potentially, because a lot of people are very, very excited about Morgan Moses when he signed, and I think he's a serviceable player, but he's not Orlando Brown in 2019, where you can just now you have replicating that domination that they had back then.
Definitely. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and flip to the defense, Voss. And we will start with the pass defense. Thoughts for me. I think everyone played a pretty good game. I put out before the game the key to the game for was the Ravens safeties to keep everything in front of them. Don't let anything get behind them. Don't let Joe Flacco beat you over the top. Just let him make those short, quick throws, and we will win this game easily. And that's what happened. Joe Flacco didn't have a completion more than like 25 yards. Safeties kept everything in front of them. And I'm very proud of the performance of the pass defense put out there, and that is without Marcus Peters, by the way. So, very, very bullish on what this pass defense can do. I think obviously Marcus Williams had that pick, and once again, the guy this free agency period. Like if you were going to sign anyone, it would have been him, and love to see that pay dividends. And then and flipping to the pass rush. This defensive line just completely ate everybody alive. Going to the pressures. So Justin Houston was eating all game. I think he had a sack and a half or so. And then Owe had 5 pressures. Madubuike with 5. Pierce was 4. Washington 2. Campbell 2. And then Queen blitzing. He had 4 pressures. So all in all, the whole defense was just getting after them. Very, very excited to see what Mike McDonald can scheme up in terms of pass defense with disguising coverages and disguising blitz. And you saw Michael Pierce drop from the defensive tackle spot to drop into a hook zone, and he forces a fumble. It's like, all right, man, you know what? Let's just have fun with it. Who cares? Who cares if we're dropping the coverage? Let's have fun with it. So I love what the pass defense did yesterday. What about you, Bus?
Yeah, outstanding game with the pass defense. Marcus Williams, I'll start there. I was out in front of that. Completely 1,000% concur. He was the number one free agent to sign. They've been lacking that free safety for so long, and a guy like that very rarely comes available. So young, so talented, so versatile. Thought he tackled very well also, which maybe some weren't expecting. I was. But makes that pick. The receiver fell down. And then Chuck Clark forced fumble. So, the 2 takeaways were the 2 starting safeties. Corner, Marlowe played, I don't have the numbers, but he played a good bit in the slot. They sent him on a couple slot blitzes, which is pretty interesting if you think about it. You figure Peters is out, Marlowe's your other top dog at corner. To put him in the slot, but I thought Brandon Stevens fared well playing that left cornerback spot that Peters usually occupies. He's a big guy and he can run. I mean, he's just a really good athlete, and I think leaving him at one position and letting him learn it bodes well for the future. So I'm encouraged by the depth there, and hopefully Peters can be back week 2, week 3. I mean, he's ahead of maybe some of the other guys, and then you have another ball hawk. As far as pass rush, I thought Elway played well. Definitely think Houston played well. The defensive line, the amount of penetration they provided compared to the last, 5 years, 6 years was much improved. And I don't think it's a coincidence that just magically happened when they finally don't have Brendan Williams on the team anymore. So, yeah, I thought the young guys stepped up. Matabike and Washington going into their third year now. Really, and they didn't have Travis Jones. So when he comes back to the fold, Brent Urban played about 25 snaps as a, just like a 5-tech edge setter, and didn't really do too much, but it's still another nice depth piece. And, Steven Means was really the third outside linebacker. And that's all they used. I mean, Houston and especially Owe had played like almost, I think, like over 50 snaps. That's a lot of snaps for a guy. So it'd be helpful to get some more reinforcements there. I'm wondering if they're going to put Means on the roster. Maybe they just didn't want to pay him the full year because they need him. And none of the other inside backers besides Queen, Harrison, and Bynes played, on defense at all. Ross, Welsh, and Phillips. So interesting to see what they did. Obviously, Kyle Fuller tore his ACL on the push-off. Not great. I thought he was playing pretty well. I mean, not a star, but not getting abused or exposed. So they have Pepe and Armour Davis, I guess, to fill in until Peters is ready. They both just got a little taste of the NFL action. But I was surprised that Marlowe played so much in the slot, and that's why Pepe didn't see the field so much. So maybe if Fuller's out, obviously Fuller is out, and Peters isn't ready, maybe that changes next week.
Yeah, definitely. That Fuller injury sucks. I thought he played very well. And then, late in the game, it's just a weird fluke. Kind of gets just pushed off and then blows out his leg. So, yeah, I think all in all, I'm very proud of what this defense did. But I do understand that this is not the greatest NFL team to be the litmus test for the defense. I think next week will probably be better as long as the Jets' offensive line isn't terrible, which it looks like it's going to be very banged up. Again, I mean the Dolphins' offensive line looks very banged up already. So if not, we'll probably go to week 4 versus the Bills. I think that will be the statement litmus test for the defense. So one last part. Go ahead, boss.
A lot of teams have offensive line problems. I mean, Buffalo's offensive line isn't like amazing. They're decent. They're solid. Since you signed these two guys and traded for Collins and there's going to be so much better. It wasn't at all, So I know Pittsburgh has a tough front, but this idea that you're going to build up a juggernaut offensive line, there's just very few teams have that around the entire league. Maybe 5 teams in the whole league have a good player at all 5 positions.
Right. Yeah, you're going to have one weakness everywhere, at least an offensive lineman, and usually it's at a guard or center. You never want that to be your tackle, but some teams do operate like that. Like the Chargers, their right tackle is their weakness.
Yeah.
And then the Rams is everywhere is their weakness after last week. So,
I mean, they're dropped, and then Tampa Bay's starting tackles got hurt. I mean, there's just offensive line is shaky. So
definitely, yeah. So the good.
No, I had one thought on Kyle Hamilton. I mean, he was pretty quiet. He played about 50% of snaps, which is directly to this point with the dime usage. Garrett Wilson made this. He broke a lot of tackles, but it was always like 3rd and 12 and he got 11, or like 3rd and 9 and he got 8 or something, But Hamilton needs to work on that tackling. That's why sometimes these safe picks, and I love the Hamilton pick, not as much on the Linderbaum, but safe isn't safe. There is no safe. Don't take a guy that's safe because you think he's safe, because safe guys bust just as much as risky guys do.
Definitely, yeah. Hamilton really does need to clean up that tackling. I thought through preseason and through last week he was or yesterday, he was pretty lackadaisical with his tackling. So, but besides that, I think everything else was fine with him. But to get into this last part of the pass defense, and we'll go to the run defense, and of course we'll use the shortest amount of time on it because it's the least valuable phase. I think that them running dime was something that I foresaw. And obviously, they're up 10-3 at half, I think, and then start out the third quarter, they go up 24-3. So, of course, they're up more, meaning they're probably putting dime out there because they're expecting pass. But at the same time, they have the dogs to run dime whenever they want. They don't have to be up the run dime. They have this disgusting defensive line that is missing. Once Travis Jones come back, that defensive line is going to be stout. It's going to be 320 plus pound men on the defensive line playing inside, and then you have Elway in Houston, and hopefully Steven Means rotating in, or Tyus Bowser or whoever. So that defensive line can really do whatever it wants, line up however it wants, 4-man fronts, 5-man fronts, 3-3-5, whatever you need, 4-2-5. But clearly this game they went with dime a lot, 50%, obviously. Pretty big jump from the next team, which was the Chargers at 28.6. So I love it. Personally, I've been calling for more dime usage all the time. Dime's probably, in my opinion, the best defense to run to try and get turnovers, that or nickel. And I'd be curious to see how this number fares in terms of percentage for the rest of the season versus other teams that may be a little more heavy in the box, a little more 12, 13, 22 personnel and such. So what do you think about the dime usage, Ross?
Yeah, I love dime. I've been asking for more dime since Dean Pease was the defensive coordinator. I think they ran dime on about 40% in 2019, and it's certainly a product in some ways of game script for sure. But they actually have their dime personnel is better than their nickel personnel, and certainly than their base personnel this year, because they have 3 really good safeties and inside linebackers. We don't know. We don't know if they even have one really good inside linebacker. Interesting takeaway from this game: Queen played every single snap on defense, which was not the case last year. Not at all. Bynes outsnapped him a lot of games. There were some games when he was playing 50, 60% in the second half. I thought Queen did really well coming forward. That's where he's been making his mark since he entered the league. Had some pressures, had some hits. I think he had a sack or a half a sack. Also did pretty good sideline to sideline. I thought he had some tough hits, kind of like tone setting hits in this game. Still a work in progress in pass coverage. He allowed. I saw somewhere. I think it was somebody charted him with allowing 9 completions into his coverage this game. So that's the whole point of dime. You don't want Bynes or Harrison, or Bynes and Queen, or Harrison and Queen, or whoever. There's no reason to have those 2 guys on the field trying to cover, between level 2 and level 3, because they're just none of the 3 of them. I mean, Bynes has the instincts, maybe not the speed. The other 2 guys don't have the instincts. So the more dime, the better. And even if you're going against 12 personnel, it's fine. We'll let them. I think one of the best defensive strategies, which is counter to the entire Ravens philosophy, is to entice the opposition to run the ball more. The more they run, the better off you are. Of course, if you're getting gassed for 7 yards of carry, not necessarily so, but I just don't see that happening even with more dime.
Definitely, yeah, definitely agree there. And especially on this defense, I don't see that happening at all. I don't see anyone getting more than 5 yards of carry at best against this defense. So Um, yeah, I'm pumped about it. I think Queen had a pretty good game. I think one of his better games in his career this last game. I do think that obviously pass coverage you'd hope to see better, and yeah. So we'll go into the last phase of defense, which is the rush defense. Um, I thought it was all right. I thought that Michael Carter, North Carolina's finest, have to throw that out there as a Tar Heel fan. He played pretty well. I think 10 carries for 60 yards, so 6 yards a carry. He played well, and then Brees Hall, a lot less. I think he had like 25 yards or so. But all in all, 85 yards rushing, whatever. It's not like it's not once again it's not the most important phase in football. It's not like they really were gashing us to the point where where they're running down the field. It's 50-yard gains. It's guys are getting blown off the line. It was just most of it was just kind of like 14 or 15-yard runs here, and then they'd get stopped for like 3 drives in a row and then come back to running the next time. So yeah, I think the rush defense did fine. Maybe you'd like to see the yards a little bit less. But all in all, I think it was okay, and I'm not worried about it at all.
I mean, nor am I. They had the number one rush defense in the league last year. They're better on the defensive line. They have all the same exact linebackers returning, I guess, except for what's his name, Chris Board, who wasn't a good, run stuffer himself. So, they need probably a little bit more depth on the edge still if they're going to run this, not use those other inside backers and kind of redefine Sam and even man fronts and all that sort of thing as much. But the best run defense is pass offense. They can't run. They're not going to. I don't care if they're getting 8 yards a carry when they're trailing by 14 points or 15 points or more than that because they only got their touchdown at the very end there. They can't run. So that's the way I see it. I think it's interesting that the Ravens rushed the ball much worse than was expected going into this game. The Jets rushed the ball much better than was expected going into the game, and the Ravens dominated. If that doesn't tell you what phases are important, I don't know what else to say.
Well, you know what they say, boss. Some Tom Brady-led New England team ran the football in the Super Bowl and they won. So we'll use that as a talking point. So yeah, all in all, I think I would for going forward from here. I need this offense to start off quicker. I really do. Slow starts will not work against teams like Buffalo and Tampa, and all the other good teams we played this year. I think that they definitely need to come out firing on all cylinders and offense, and whether that's passing, running, whatever, even game script, I don't care. I just need this offense to get out and get off to. I want us to be the ones up 14. I don't want to be always down 14. So yeah, and defensively, just keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully, against better competition, they still uphold, which I think they will. I still believe in this defense. I still they have all the tools they need to succeed. But that about does it for me, Voss. Or any last thoughts for you?
No, I just agree. I think this is going to be one of the best defenses in the entire league. I've said that throughout the entire offseason. Michael Carter busting a couple, 10-yard runs doesn't change my opinion on that whatsoever. The keys to me, I think they're, a playoff team, probably going to win the division. They're an 11, probably an 11, 12, somewhere between 10 and 12 win team, I'd say. And, since he loses, I wasn't super impressed by some of the teams they're competing with. The keys of the season are going to be that second wide receiver. Can Duvernay keep it up? And, the offensive line getting working out the kinks and getting in a rhythm where they can, put Lamar and the backs in advantageous situations. So I do think this week 2 matchup is going to be a tough one. Miami embarrassed them last year, and now that was on Thursday night on the road, which is a tough spot. But Miami's a talented team. I mean, they really are a talented team. I think they're, they beat New England handily yesterday. So it's going to be an early season game that may have playoff implications in December. So I think this is a really important game, and I hope Marcus Peters can come back. Maybe if we're really lucky, Ronnie Stanley can come back. I don't think J.K. Dobbins would make a difference because it's all about the blocking. But yeah, let's hope for a nice 2-0 start and really put themselves in good position going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think that next week in particular, that Miami defense is sneakily good. Like they sneakily have a good secondary. Well, I think Byron Jones is injured, but they still have Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, and then I think they have one other corner they drafted in the first round. I think it's like Noah with an I is the last name. And then they have the edge rushers, Jalen Phillips and Emmanuel Agba. So I think it's going to be another test for this offensive line coming up this week because those guys are going to get after it. And they still have a good interior, Miami does, of a defensive lineman. So I think, like you said, the keys to the rest of the season, can Duvernay keep it up? Can Owe continue playing well? I think that's pretty important to me. Is Bateman going to establish himself as wide receiver one? And are we going? I think the biggest thing to me is are we going to keep? And I know I'll keep hammering the drum. I don't care. You can crucify me. I don't care. Are we going to shift more to a zone concept running team? Are we going to keep sticking to only gap? I prefer multiple. I think this team can run multiple, and I think that is the efficiency. That's the tweak in the offense to kind of get the running game going. If we're really not getting things going. So that about does it for me, Voss. One last thing: Denver versus Seattle. Who do you got?
I got Denver. Seattle's they're not a very good team, but they do have two really good receivers. So if they get that 12th man going, maybe they could pull out a miracle. But the final quarterback revenge game of the week.
Yeah. I would. I don't know. I think Denver wins because they have obviously a better pass protection and a better pass offense and better receivers. So I think it, as long as emotions aren't involved, Denver will go ahead and take this one home. But I do believe
Seattle's up 7-0. Actually, they just scored.
Oh well, emotions are involved, Voss, clearly, and I guess Pete Carroll wants to say, hey, don't forget about me. But anyway, I'll let you go so we can go ahead and watch this football game. Appreciate you for joining me. We'll go ahead and link your Twitter. Yep.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for having me. Always enjoy chopping up with you. At Vasilis Beatdown, VASILIS Beatdown, co-managing editor for Baltimore Beatdown, part of the SB Nation network of blogs.
Yep, definitely. I'll go ahead and link your Twitter below. And, go Ravens. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.